Hello friends, my name is Arwen. Welcome to online programming from Durham County Library. Today we are going to talk about how we see. And you're thinking, Arwen, I know how I see. I have eyes, and I know I use my eyes to see. But did you know you don't just use your eyes? Your eyes take in images from everything around you. But then they take those images and they send them to the brain, which we're going to say is just right here, even though we know it's all in here. And the brain processes those images. What do I mean by process? Well, the brain takes all the images that your eyes are sending it, and it makes sense of it. It puts it all together in a way that we can kind of tolerate. By tolerate, I mean, think about all the things in front of you right now. There are a lot, right? But you have a way of kind of filtering out what's important and what's not. And sometimes we can tell our brain what's important. Like, if you lose a sock in your room and you need to find it, you tell your brain, hey, this is what that sock looks like. Remember that image? Let's find it. And chances are you do. Chances are you don't, because of the sock monster that lives in everyone's washing machine and eats single socks, so you only have one once you've done the wash, and you know you put two in, but then only one comes out, and you save that one forever, hoping you'll find the match, but you never will. I digress, and that means I wandered off course. So back to how we see. Our eyes and our brain work so well together seeing that we don't even think about it most of the time. One of the really cool ways that works that kind of blew my mind when I found out about it a while back is how we recognize other people. And you think, well, I recognize other people because I know what they look like. If you see your best friend walking down the street coming towards you, you think, well, I know who it is because I know what she looks like. In my case, my best friend is a she. But what we're really recognizing is not what our friend looks like, not the physical features. Are you ready for this? We're recognizing how our friend moves, how our friend walks. Everyone walks differently. And even though if you asked me to describe how my best friend walked, I couldn't tell you. But my brain knows. And that's the first thing you see when they're too far away to see their face. You think that you're seeing your face and recognizing your friend, but you're really seeing the way that they walk. That's crazy. I mean, our brains are pretty amazing things. We don't know. It's amazing. We've been studying brains for always and ever in time, and we still don't know very much about them or how they work because they're so complex. Whoa. And yet our brains can make really complex things. But again, I think I'm digressing. Let's get back to seeing. So now that we know that our brains and our eyes work together to see things, here's what we're going to do. We're going to trick those really smart brains and eyes. We're going to see things that aren't there. Are we going to do that? Nope, we're not going to see ghosts, because ghosts don't exist, right? Do they? I don't know. Get back to me on that. We are going to look at something called optical illusions. Now, optical. You ever heard that word before? You might have, and you might even know what it means. But in case you haven't, or you don't, I'll tell you. Optical means having to do with vision. Vision is how we see. So if you go to an optometrist, which sounds like optical, an optometrist checks your eyes and how you're seeing. When I go to the optometrist, I get told you still need to wear glasses, or in this case, contacts, because your eyes don't see very well. Oh well, I hope that you don't have to hear that, the optometrist. I mean, it's fine. You can have really cool glasses, but I don't know. It's just another hassle in life. So, okay, so optical. Optical is vision and about how we see. An illusion. What's an illusion? An illusion is seeing something, but it's not reality. You're processing it in a way that isn't correct. So, for example, magic tricks are illusions. You know that a quarter did not come out of your ear when a magician pulls it out, but it seems like it did. It's an illusion. So optical illusions, seeing things, but not the way that they are. So we're going to do this a little differently than how I normally do. Normally we do an experiment and walk through it and talk about it, but optical illusions are really hard to draw because it's not just, well, we'll talk about what it isn't. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put it up on the screen. And we're going to look at it for a second, and we're going to talk about it. So here's our first optical illusion. what did you see? Or should I say, what do you think you saw? Do you think you saw something that was moving? Sure looked like it. However, it wasn't. That was a still image. Nothing in that image was moving at all. What? I know. How did our brain mess that one up? Well, let's talk about it. First, we're going to look at it again, and I want you to notice what colors it is. What would you call those colors? I'd say it's kind of a puce and a terracotta, or to simplify it, a reddish orange and a green. Now, what do we know about red and green? Well, one means stop, one means go. Do you remember our friend the color wheel? Maybe it's not your friend, it's my friend. Well, we're going to look at the color wheel, and I want you to notice where red and green are on the color wheel in relation to each other. So here we go, let's take a look at the color wheel. Okay, so red and green, they're not next to each other, they're not kitty corner, they're across from each other. What does that mean? What does that have to do with anything? Colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, boop, boop, are opposites, and we call them complementary colors because they They tell each other all the time how attractive they are. No, it's just the word we use to mean they're opposite on the color wheel. So complementary colors are obviously the opposite, and so our brain, when we look at that image, is trying to process these two opposite colors at the same time, and it can't handle it, and so it looks all wiggly. Pretty cool. Now we're going to look at a second image, and it's the same thing. It's red and green, reddish, greenish, and while you're looking at it, I want you to focus on one of the little shapes. You'll see what I'm talking about when you see it. One of the little almond shapes. Focus your eyes on it and see what happens when you focus your eye on it. Okay. Did the little almond shape stop moving when you focused on it? It should have, I think. It's supposed to. It does when I look at it. And what is the reason for that? It's still the two different colors and a pattern that makes them all crazy. But when you're focusing on one, you're telling your brain, this is what's important, and this is what I want to process, just this one little point. And so it stops moving. Your brain is able to focus on it and see it the way it really is, a still image. Pretty neat. So now that we've looked at two really fancy optical illusions that I did not create, we're going to make our own optical illusion that I did create using my favorite things, construction paper and glue sticks. No jars today. So here I have two circles, and each one, as you can see, is two different colors. Yellow and red. Well, it's a really bright red. And yeah, depending on where in the light it is, it doesn't look very red. And then blue and red, which looks very blue and red. Now, when I initially looked at this experiment, it told me that if I put two pieces of string through this and wound them up and then undid it, that it would spin. It did not. And then I thought, well, I could turn it into a top, and I'll just stick a pencil through it and then spin it. It did not work. My top kept falling over. Another thing said, well, put a quarter in it and then spin it with the quarter. I'm sure you will not be surprised to hear that that did not work either. Luckily, I have this weird little disc thing that my uncle gave me for Christmas years and years ago, and now I know why I hung on to it. I would need it for this experiment. So what I did, because we want this to spin, which I guess you figured out, I taped it to my little disc and then I spun it. So let's look at it spinning.
So here we see the disc spinning, and it doesn't look like just red and blue anymore. And that's because our eyes are giving these images to our brain, and our brain is trying to figure out what's going on, but everything's going so fast. And the purple shows up because that's what happens when red and blue are combined. So our brain is kind of overlapping the images that the eyes are sending it.
All right, and now the other colors, the reddish and the yellow. Let's look at it spinning.
Okay, so now we have red and yellow, and it's not getting as orangey as I'd like, but you can still see how it doesn't look like just plain red and yellow. but you can see them kind of overlapping as the disc spins. And it still looks pretty cool.
There you have it. Your brain's a little confused by the images that it's getting so fast from your eyes. Do you think that you could make one of these at home? Probably. And maybe you'll be able to figure out how to do it with the string or the pencil or the quarter in ways that I did not. But I think what's really neat about today is we learned how we can fool our eyes and our brain. Even though our eyes and our brain work so well together, we're still smarter than they are. Well, can you be smarter than your brain? I don't know. I guess a better way to put it is we can tell our brain what to do. We can tell our brain how to interpret things. But when it's left on its own, sometimes it just messes it up. And that is our program today. I hope you enjoyed it. I love colors and how colors do so much in our life, and how colors can even make it so we see things that aren't real, moving images. And have a great day, or evening, or morning, or night, or whenever you're watching this. Bye.